the New Light deception when the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society rebranded contradiction as truth. Now, in episode 16, I exposed how the Watchtower turned discipline into social isolation through disfellowshipping. And episode 17 now addresses the mechanism that protects prior errors and how changing doctrine is reframed as spiritual progress. Now, the Watchtower teaches that truth gets brighter over time, even when it changes direction and turns what apparently was truth into a lie. They reckon light reveals. But the Watchtower revises what that light was, and it actually turns it into darkness. It makes their light, in reality, become darkness. The Watchtower uses concept of new light to justify doctrine, doctrinal reversals, reframing, contradictions, as progressive understanding. But true Christianity does not require repeated correction of foundational truth. It proclaims truth that does not reverse. Now, teaching point number 1. The Watchtower redefined doctrinal changes as spiritual growth. Instead of identifying past teachings as error, they reframed as adjustments, allowing authority to remain intact while teaching shifted. Now, if we accept changing doctrine as growth, we reframe, absorb, and normalize deception. If we overlook prior contradictions, we ignore, dismiss, and forget these deceptions. And if we trust the current version, the deception as truth, then we become dependent, submissive, and stable on deception. That's how these cults work. So this leads to a belief system where truth is not fixed, but continually reissued, continually changed, which is the concept of deception. Teaching point number 2. New light protects leadership from accountability. If every change is reframed as progress, then no previous teaching is treated as failure, requiring correction. That means nobody's accountable. We're just going to say what we want, and whatever the results are, be it positive or negative, no one's in trouble. That's how cults work. So you see the doctrine change in the cult, the Watchtower cult, repeatedly. These people live with confusion, tension, and doubt. Then they're told this is new light, apparently to bring relief and acceptance and resolution. And then this in turn is supposed to make questioning stop. Is supposed to stop questioning these patterns, which brings silence, compliance, and trust in lies. So this results in an authority being preserved while accountability is never faced. The Watchtower never faced accountability for its lies. Teaching point number 3, viewers. True Christianity does not reverse foundational truth. Scripture calls believers to test teachings and hold fast to what is good, not to accept ongoing contradiction as divine guidance. And you read unchanging Scripture, that's stability, clarity, continuity. You compare shifting doctrine. You conflict. You go for exposure and awareness, because when you can compete with these beliefs, you become aware. Then we've got a helicopter coming in to the hospital just over there. Sorry, viewers. Yeah. Then you evaluate both honestly. You evaluate what they're saying with reality, and that brings discernment, which will enable you to be able to separate truth from lies and make a decision. Now, you can decide to be deceived, or you can decide to carry on with the truth. But this leaves the believer, the Jehovah's Witness, choosing between being fixed to truth or adjustable interpretation. Here's the scenario. A Jehovah's Witness learns that a teaching once presented as certain has now been changed. They remembered being told the previous version was truth, yet are now expected to accept the new version without question. Now, there's a psychological layer to this. The change creates, these changes that the Watchtower create, internal tension. But the new light explanation resolves discomfort by supplying an approved reason for the contradiction, even though it's a lie. The spiritual layer to this is the issue is framed as humility, accepting updates, understanding, rather than testing whether the previous teaching was false. And the physical layer to this view is the member continues meetings, field service, the organisational routines, while privately adjusting their belief to match the newest explanation. So here's a reflection question. When truth changes repeatedly, is it becoming clearer or being redefined? Well, let's do a resistance check. Are you accepting doctrinal changes because they are clearly supported by Scripture, or because the Watchtower labels them as new light? Have you examined past teachings honestly? Is this growth or just revision? Well, let's do a root cause check. Do you believe truth can contradict itself and still remain truth? Are you relying on Watchtower to define what is correct rather than testing it yourself? Have you accepted that authority determines truth? And are you going on the Watchtower authority or the Scripture's authority? So let's take immediate action. Read Proverbs 14:8 in context, along with Galatians 1:8 through 9 and Hebrews 13:8. Write one question and one sentence answering, does truth evolve or remain consistent? Well, before I close, viewers, here's a proverb. Better is the person who holds fast to truth once proven than the teacher who reshapes it to preserve his belief. Final closing statement, viewers. If the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society can redefine contradictions as illumination, then no teaching can ever truly be tested. Correction begins when the believer distinguishes between light that reveals and language that conceals revision. If you're being encouraged by this teaching, like, subscribe, share and comment just to encourage me. In episode 18, the next episode, we're going to look at the authority structure deception. This is how the Watchtowers maintain control. The authority structure deception, when Watchtower positions itself between the individual and God. And I'll expose how centralized control replaced personal accountability to Christ. Press like, subscribe, comment and share, and I'll see you in episode 18, the authority structure deception, when Watchtower positions itself between the individual and God. Bye for now.